The modern gaming industry has a leak problem, and if recent reports are accurate, the situation surrounding Forza Horizon 6 may have become one of the most damaging accidental pre-launch leaks Microsoft has ever dealt with. We are not talking about a blurry screenshot posted anonymously to a forum, a tiny gameplay clip recorded off somebody's phone, or a data mine hidden deep in a beta client. We are talking about reports of a playable internal build escaping into the wild before the game had even officially launched, followed by claims that the build was cracked and distributed across the internet faster than Microsoft could contain it. If true, this entire situation could become one of the defining examples of how difficult it has become for major publishers to maintain control over massive AAA projects in a digital era. Before we dive into everything, if you enjoy deep dives into gaming industry controversies, leaks, cancellations, corporate decisions, preservation issues, and everything happening behind the scenes in modern gaming, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you do not miss any future uploads. And if you want even more content, check out my Patreon, where my latest exclusive video takes a deep look at how players increasingly do not truly own their digital games anymore, and why that issue may become one of the biggest problems facing the gaming industry in the future. The story surrounding Forza Horizon 6 began quietly. For months, rumors had been circulating that Playground Games was preparing to unveil the next entry in the massively successful racing franchise. That alone was not surprising. The Forza Horizon series had become one of Xbox's most important exclusives, especially after Microsoft doubled down on PC releases, Game Pass integration, and cross-platform accessibility. Every new entry in the franchise is expected to be a major event, and anticipation around Forza Horizon 6 had already been building long before any official reveal. Industry insiders claim the game was visually stunning, technically ambitious, and potentially one of the largest open-world racing environments Playground Games had ever attempted. Then strange things started happening online. Users monitoring Microsoft backend servers and development branches reportedly began noticing unusual activity tied to unknown packages and encrypted files. That by itself is not uncommon in the gaming industry. Developers constantly upload test builds, placeholder assets, and internal branches to various systems connected to distribution platforms. Most of the time, these remain inaccessible to the public. But according to widespread rumors, somebody either configured permissions wrong, accidentally exposed a developmental branch, or failed to properly secure an internal package connected to Forza Horizon 6. What happened next is where the situation allegedly spiraled completely out of control. People reportedly discovered a downloadable internal build connected to the game. At first, many users thought it was fake. Gaming communities are flooded with hoaxes and fake leaks every single year. But as more people began examining the files, screenshots started circulating that appeared increasingly legitimate. Menus, environmental assets, vehicle models, weather systems, and interface elements all seem consistent with what players would expect from a modern Forza Horizon title. Then gameplay footage began appearing online. Some clips were low quality, others were more clear. But what caught people's attention was how detailed and complete portions of the build reportedly appear to be. Suddenly, discussion around the leak exploded across forums, Discord servers, private groups, and social media platforms. People started analyzing every visible detail frame by frame. Some focused on the map design, others examined graphical improvements, lighting systems, physics changes, and car handling mechanics. Rumors spread that the game featured a dramatically upgraded weather engine capable of transforming environments in real time with storms, flooding, and shifting terrain conditions. Other claims suggested Playground Games had massively expanded online social systems and introduced more dynamic AI traffic behavior. Whether every rumor was true almost became irrelevant, because the existence of a supposedly playable build overshadowed everything else. At this point, Microsoft allegedly entered damage control mode. Copyright takedowns reportedly started appearing rapidly across multiple platforms. Videos vanished, clips disappeared, accounts posting gameplay allegedly received strikes or suspensions, but the internet does not work the same way it did 15 or 20 years ago. Once digital files began spreading through multiple channels simultaneously, containing them becomes very difficult. In many ways, the harder companies try to erase leaks, the more attention those leaks attract. Suddenly, even people who had not cared about Forza Horizon 6 became curious simply because Microsoft appeared desperate to stop the spread of information. Then the situation reportedly became even worse. According to discussions circulating in various online communities, people discovered the leaked build lacked the full protection systems normally expected in a retail release. Major first party Xbox titles typically include extensive authentication systems, DRM layers, online verification requirements, encryption protections, and anti tamper technology designed to prevent unauthorized access. However, development builds are often structured differently from final consumer releases. Developers need debugging tools, testing access, and faster deployment systems during production. If the reports are accurate, this leaked version may have included incomplete retail security or development oriented authentication systems that were never intended for public exposure. That is allegedly where cracking groups entered the picture. Once individuals started examining the build more closely, reports began spreading that protections could be bypassed far more easily than expected. Instead of requiring the extensive reverse engineering normally associated with cracking modern AAA releases, people allegedly found vulnerabilities tied to unfinished authentication systems, developer tools, or disabled security features still embedded within the build. Once one group succeeded, the build reportedly spread rapidly across private sharing networks, archive communities, torrent sites, and closed Discord servers. In a matter of hours, the situation transformed from an unfortunate leak into a full scale distribution nightmare. What makes this story so significant is not simply that files leaked online. The gaming industry has dealt with leaks for decades. Entire Nintendo ROMs have surfaced before launch, Ubisoft projects have leaked early, Rockstar famously dealt with massive Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks that exposed huge amounts of in development footage. But what allegedly happened with Forza Horizon 6 represents a different kind of problem because the reports suggest people gained access to something approaching a genuinely playable version of a major first party Xbox release before Microsoft had officially revealed the finished product to the world. That creates enormous problems internally for a studio. First, unfinished content becomes subject to public judgment. Gamers often forget that development builds are incomplete by nature. Missing textures, placeholder user interface elements, unstable frame rates, unfinished mechanics, broken physics, and unoptimized systems are common during development. But once footage reaches the public, many viewers judge it as if they are looking at a near final product. Developers then face backlash over systems that may not even exist in the final release. Rumors spread rapidly, misinformation becomes difficult to correct, and public perception can shift before marketing campaigns even begin. Second, leaks damage the impact of official reveals. Large publishers spend years planning announcements, showcase events, trailers, gameplay demonstrations, influencer campaigns, and media partnerships. Entire marketing strategies are carefully coordinated around building excitement and controlling the narrative surrounding a release. When a playable build leaks early, those plans can collapse overnight. Surprises disappear, key reveals lose their impact, planned feature showcases become less exciting because audiences already think they know what the game contains. Third, and perhaps most importantly, situations like this raise terrifying security questions for major publishers. Microsoft now reportedly has to investigate how such a leak could have occurred in the first place. Was it accidental server exposure? Internal negligence, a compromised developer account, a distribution partner failure, an exploited back-end vulnerability? Modern AAA game development involves thousands of employees, contractors, testers, localization teams, cloud systems, and external support partners operating across multiple countries and infrastructures simultaneously. Every additional layer increases the number of possible failure points. The situation also highlights how dramatically the PC ecosystem has changed the security landscape for publishers. Console ecosystems used to provide relatively closed environments with stronger hardware level protections, but Microsoft's modern strategy revolves heavily around simultaneous PC releases, Game Pass distribution, cloud systems, cross platform progression, and digital storefront integration. While that approach has obvious advantages for accessibility and growth, it also creates far more potential attack surfaces compared to traditional console exclusive distribution models. Every connected system introduces additional vulnerabilities that can potentially be exploited if something goes wrong. Another fascinating aspect of this controversy is the reaction from gaming communities themselves. Predictably, opinions become deeply divided. Some players condemn the leak entirely, arguing that accessing stolen or unauthorized builds harms developers who spend years working under intense pressure to create these games. Others argue that curiosity is inevitable once files become publicly accessible online. A smaller but vocal group framed the situation around preservation, arguing that pre-release builds represent valuable historical snapshots of game development that often disappear forever once projects launch or change direction. This debate has existed for years within gaming culture, especially as digital distribution and online authentication systems become increasingly dominant. Ironically, the entire situation also intersects directly with larger conversations surrounding digital ownership and preservation in modern gaming. Many modern titles rely heavily on online connectivity, authentication servers, cloud infrastructure, and publisher controlled ecosystems. That means companies often maintain extraordinary control over access to purchase software long after release. Some preservation advocates argue that leaked development builds occasionally become the only surviving versions of certain games or features once publishers alter, delist, or shut down official versions. Others counter that unauthorized leaks undermine developer trust and can cause severe damage to projects still in development. It is a complicated issue with no simple answer. One of the reasons this story resonates so strongly is because Forza Horizon is not some niche indie release. This is one of Xbox's flagship franchises. The series has become a showcase for Microsoft's technical capabilities, open world design philosophy, and live service ambitions. Each new release attracts massive audiences, drives Game Pass engagement, and serves as a critical pillar of Xbox's ecosystem strategy. A major leak involving a franchise this important naturally attracts enormous attention because it signals vulnerabilities affecting one of the industry's largest publishers. And honestly, if the reports surrounding the crack are accurate, this may be the most damaging aspect of the entire situation. Leaks are bad enough from a marketing perspective, but widespread unauthorized distribution of a playable build creates a fundamentally different level of crisis. At that point, the issue extends beyond spoilers or marketing disruption and enters territory involving infrastructure security, intellectual property protection, and platform integrity. Microsoft can remove YouTube videos. It can issue takedowns against screenshots, but once large numbers of users allegedly possess the actual files, regaining control becomes dramatically more difficult. The broader gaming industry is probably watching the situation very carefully. Publishers already face increasing concerns surrounding ransomware attacks, internal breaches, source code theft, and data exposure. Development pipelines have become incredibly distributed and interconnected, especially following the rise of remote work environments over the past several years. Security failures that might once have affected small portions of a project can now potentially expose massive amounts of sensitive material simultaneously. As games become larger and more dependent on cloud connected infrastructure, the consequences of a single mistake continue to grow. There is also the possibility that situations like this push publishers toward even more restrictive DRM systems in the future. Companies may decide to implement heavier encryption, stricter online requirements, cloud only testing environments, or more invasive authentication methods to reduce the risk of future leaks. Ironically, that could create additional frustration for legitimate customers who already feel exhausted by always online requirements, account linking systems, launcher fragmentation, and digital ownership limitations. In trying to stop leaks and piracy, publishers often increase restrictions on paying customers as well. For Microsoft specifically, this controversy arrives during a particularly important period. Xbox has spent years repositioning itself around accessibility, ecosystem integration, Game Pass growth, and multi-platform expansion. The company has pushed hard into PC gaming while simultaneously emphasizing digital ecosystems and cloud infrastructure. A high-profile leak involving one of its flagship franchises inevitably raises uncomfortable questions about whether current security measures are sufficient for the increasingly interconnected future Microsoft is building. At the same time, it is important to remember that many details surrounding this situation remain based on reports, claims, and widespread online discussion. The internet has a tendency to exaggerate events rapidly, especially when high profile franchises are involved. Some reports may prove to be inaccurate, but even the existence of major discussions surrounding a playable leaked build demonstrates how quickly narratives can spiral in modern gaming culture once information begins spreading online. No matter how the situation ultimately unfolds, the Forza Horizon 6 controversy may become one of those moments people reference for years when discussing gaming leaks, digital distribution vulnerabilities, and the growing difficulty publishers face in maintaining secrecy around major AAA releases. The scale of modern game development has become so enormous, so interconnected, and so dependent on online systems that preventing leaks entirely may simply be impossible moving forward. And honestly, that may be the biggest takeaway from all of this. The gaming industry has entered an era where massive corporations can spend hundreds of millions of dollars developing a project, implement extensive security systems, tightly control marketing campaigns for years, and still potentially lose control of a game before launch because of a single exposed build, compromised account, or back-end mistake. Once files escape into the internet ecosystem, the situation changes permanently. Information spreads instantly, mirrors appear everywhere, and containment becomes nearly impossible. But now I want to hear from all of you. If a game leaks before launch, do you think people should avoid it out of respect for developers? Or do you think once something spreads publicly online, curiosity is simply inevitable? And how concerned are you about the future of digital gaming security and ownership as the entire industry becomes increasingly connected to online infrastructure? If you enjoyed this video and want more deep dives like this one, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you do not miss any future uploads. And once again, if you want to support the channel directly and get access to exclusive content, check out my Patreon where my newest exclusive video explores how players increasingly do not actually own their digital games anymore and why that issue could have massive consequences for the future of gaming preservation and consumer rights. Thank you all for watching. As always, game on.